We are live, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good evening. The meeting of the City Council will please come to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I understand the City Attorney Cocatello has an announcement to make regarding Councilmember Susie Collazo's participation in the meeting via Zoom. Mr. Cocatello?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I did want to provide some information for Councilmember Collazo. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 2449, under the Brown Act, Councilmember Collazo is going to make making a request to the City Council to participate remotely due to emergency circumstances. Councilmember Collazo will be participating via video and audio. The emergency circumstances are that Councilmember Collazo has a physical medical emergency that required surgery. This prevents her from attending in person this evening. I am informed that nobody is present at Councilmember Collazo's location, and this request does require a City Council vote to authorize Councilmember Collazo's participation remotely.
Thank you, City Attorney. Is there any public comment on this item? Madam Clerk, is there anyone on Zoom that would like to comment on this item? No, Your Honor. Great. Council members, can I get a motion and a second to support Councilmember Collazo's participation via Zoom? By Vice Mayor Freitas and seconded by Councilmember Jorgens. Please vote. Let's vote again. That's all right. Okay. And that passes 3 ayes. After much debate, we decided to let Councilmember Collazo participate in tonight's meeting. Whew, I had to pull in some favors, Councilmember.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let the record show that all council members are present with Councilmember Collazo participating via Zoom. I would like to announce that Councilmember Michael Bucci has submitted a letter of resignation effective 5 p.m. today. The City Council decided at the special meeting held earlier this evening to accept application to fill Councilmember Bucci's vacant seat. Applications can be submitted beginning tomorrow at 8 a.m. and will be accepted up and through Sunday, 5 p.m., July 7th. The council will reconvene on July the 8th to review applications and interview those interested in serving on the City Council. City Manager, is there anything I'm missing relative to that announcement? I'm going to switch the items on the agenda this evening so that Councilmember Susie Collazo can participate. So we're going to go with item F1. F1 is consider for adoption a resolution calling an election to be held on November 5, 2024 for voter consideration of a ballot measure seeking voter authorization to amend Municipal Code Section 3.16 to increase the city's existing transient occupancy hotel tax, establishing policies and procedures in connection with such an election, requesting the Board of Supervisors of the County of Alameda to consolidate the general municipal election with the general election to be held on November 5, 2024, requesting certain services of the Registrar of Voters of Alameda County with respect to the consolidated general municipal election, and providing for submittal of ballot arguments and rebuttals, and authorizing the filing of an impartial analysis. Mr. Benoon?
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. My apologies for the lengthy title. In tonight's presentation, this is item F1. Staff is recommending that the council authorize placement of an update to the city's existing transient occupancy tax, otherwise known as the hotel tax. This would be for the November 5th general election for voter consideration here in Newark. I do have a brief PowerPoint presentation that I'll walk through. If I could go to the next slide, please. Just to refresh the council and the public's recollection, the city does currently have an existing hotel tax. Oh. I knew I wasn't competent enough to work it, so I asked Ms. O'Rourke to assist. The city does have an existing hotel tax. The rate is established at 10% right now. It is used to fund, it is a general funds revenue source, and it is used to provide for and maintain the essential government services that our community relies upon. Just to provide some brief background, the tax was enacted by a vote of the council back in 1972. It was set at the rate of 5%, and it was updated by the council 7 years later in 1979 to 6.5%. In 1990, the Newark voters increased the rate to 7.5%, and then 11 years later in 2001, the rate was again increased by Newark voters to 10%. Next slide, please. If the council may recall, back at the city council meeting held on February 22nd of this year, the council received a report outlining findings related to the city's first facilities master plan, and also a report from our hotel consultants on the status of Newark hotels. Following those two reports, the council directed city staff to retain an independent third-party consultant to commission a community survey. Next slide. The results of that survey were presented to the City Council at its meeting on May 23rd. The survey indicated that our residents prioritize the following city services. They're listed there on the screen, one being repairing potholes in city streets, another one being maintaining police patrol, fire protection, and 911 emergency medical responses, upgrading fire stations, improving emergency dispatch, and finally enhancing parks, recreation programs, and maintaining our recreational amenities, including sports fields and play structures. Next slide, please. I just want to take this opportunity to highlight to the council and the public that there are a fair amount of needs, both current and future needs for the city. They are indeed vast and critical. They include replacement of fire stations, tens of millions of dollars in maintenance needs, and funding for the various master plans that we're currently exploring. And these are all for the safety and benefit of our community. And locally controlled funding sources are needed to address these needs. Next slide, please. A little bit about the hotel tax. It generates approximately $5.2 million. We anticipate that will be the revenue for next fiscal year, which starts next week. That represents 6% of the city's general fund revenues. And again, those funds go directly to the city's general fund and their locally controlled funding source. And those, of course, fund the basic and critical programs and services, as I indicated earlier. Next slide, please. Should the council decide to place this item for voter consideration and the voters decide to update the hotel tax rate, then it's anticipated that the city would receive an additional $2.1 million, and again, this would be general fund revenue. These funds would be, they're allowed to be used for any legitimate government purpose, and that includes the critical programs and services, as well as addressing the needs I identified earlier. Next slide. A proposed ordinance has been drafted for council consideration this evening. The proposed ordinance accomplishes three primary goals. The first one is, of course, it would increase the hotel tax rate by 4%. The second thing it would do is some legislative cleanup. The existing ordinance refers to the tax administrator. This would be an update to the municipal code and delete tax administrator and instead insert finance director. So the finance director would be the one in charge of administering the tax. And then lastly, there's a provision for establishing an independent community oversight committee. This would be a committee appointed by the mayor, subject to ratification by the council, and they would meet regularly to review revenue and expenditures related to the revenue. Next slide, please. Should the council desire to place the proposed ordinance before the voters for their consideration this November, the council would need to take certain action. And a draft resolution has been prepared, and it's attached to the staff report. And in summary, it accomplishes 4 goals. First 2 are there on the screen. First, it calls for the election and places the hotel tax update on the November ballot for voter consideration. Secondly, requests services of the Alameda County Registrar of Voters to place the hotel tax increase on the November ballot. Next slide, please. The third thing it would do is it would provide a process and procedure for submission of ballot arguments and rebuttals. And the fourth thing that it would do is it would direct the city attorney to prepare and submit an impartial analysis that would show the impact of the measure on the existing law. Before I go to the next slide, I just want to talk a little bit about the first bullet point up on the screen. I'm just going to take a brief pause here. Madam Clerk, are we okay to proceed? Can I continue, or do we need to take a brief recess?
Just advise you to those working.
Okay, all right, thank you, appreciate that. Sorry about that, my apologies. Returning to the top bullet point there, there is a provision in the draft resolution that does provide for a process of ballot arguments and rebuttals. I'm going to briefly walk through that. There is a state law process in the event that there are multiple ballot arguments and rebuttal arguments submitted related to the tax measure. And there's a process by which the city clerk would select those arguments based on priority, with highest priority given to the council. The council does have options regarding submitting a ballot argument and rebuttal. The council could either A, authorize the mayor to sign on behalf of the council, or B, the entire council would have to hold special meetings in compliance with the Brown Act to approve the argument and rebuttal. There is a specific time period that we need to comply with pursuant to the government code or elections code, and that's, I believe it's June 8th for arguments, excuse me, July 9th for arguments. I can just pull this out. Arguments would be due on July 11th, and rebuttals would be due on July 18th. Both are 2 p.m. deadlines. Because of that short time period, in the past, the council has authorized the mayor to sign on behalf of the council along with community members, and that is what we would recommend doing here in this process should the council desire to place this item for voter consideration. Next slide, please. Last but not least, there is a ballot question that has been prepared for council consideration, and I'll read it, and that is to maintain local services / facilities such as repairing potholes / city streets, replacing seismically unsafe fire stations, maintaining neighborhood police patrols, 911 and emergency medical response / fire protection, and for general government use, shall the city of Newark measure be adopted increasing the existing voter-approved transient occupancy hotel tax from 10% to 14%, paid only by hotel lodging guests until ended by voters, providing $2.1 million more annually that cannot be taken by Sacramento, including independent citizen oversight. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Colleagues, are there any clarifying questions?
Yes, yeah.
Vice Mayor?
Mr. Who will be submitting the rebuttal? Will be a member of the public, or will be?
The proposed resolution would delegate the authority to the mayor to provide the argument both for and or against, and the rebuttal, and along with community members. So the signatories would be community members and potentially the mayor.
How many committee members?
State law would authorize up to 5 signatories to arguments and rebuttals.
Okay, now, on the last page, you said additional $2.1 million Not the members or the Newark residents should know it's a total of, we collecting, should be the $7 million there.
That would be the total, yes.
Yeah, but that's, we only show the additional 2.1, but they.
Correct.
They are not entitled to know the total collect from the TOT.
I don't know to what extent that would be a part of the impartial analysis. All I can say is that the ballot question, there is specific state laws that limit the number of words.
Now, how many hotels are you having in Newark now? 13 or 14? It was 13 at one point, and we had 2 minus 1, so I believe it's like 12, 13. Doesn't matter much.
We have.
It was 12 at one point, but we had 2 and we minus 1 because it was sold out, so
This is a long report. I'll get there.
that's okay. That's okay.
The list that was presented to the council, I'm sorry, this is report was from 2 years ago. It does have 10. Mr. Turner, do you happen to have that information at the tip of your fingers? I don't think that 10 is the accurate number.
It's 11 or 12, but that doesn't matter much now. So are we comparable, the 14% TOT comparable with the other cities under Alameda County?
Correct. At the February presentation, the Embarcadero Group representatives provided analysis indicating that the 10% rate is low in comparison to neighboring jurisdictions, which are more consistent with the 14% range.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome, my friend. Are there any questions that the audience has regarding this item?
Didn't see my hand up.
Madam Clerk, is there anybody on Zoom that has any questions?
Councilmember Collazo,
Councilmember Collazo, please.
but nobody from the public.
Great. Councilmember Collazo, please. Your questions?
Thank you. I want to say that I like the way it reads, and to the point that where the residents would know that it's not costing our residents anything. That would be out in the flyers that we send out, so we make sure that they understand that it's not costing our residents anything, just our visitors that are coming to use our hotels.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to be at the hotel that you're currently staying at. Any other questions, Councilmember Collazo?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. This is an incredibly important revenue source for the city of Newark. We heard from our recent survey of our residents. They're concerned about the condition of our roadways. And so this money will go a long ways to helping us improve our roadways, which was really the number one item that our residents identified. In addition, it will certainly provide additional money to make sure that we continue to present a safe community for our residents by providing funding both to police and fire. And if you look at some of our fire stations, and I refer specifically to the one on Cherry and the one on Russian, those are old fire stations that absolutely need to be replaced. And I think we've estimated the cost for each one of those fire stations might be in the neighborhood of $18 to $20 million each. So we need to find the revenue to make those repairs and replacements moving forward. So I certainly hope our residents come November will support this tax. Councilmember, since you're on Zoom, we need to vote by voice.
Your Honor, may I
I'm
really...
sorry, I need to take a motion first. Thank
No,
you.
no, Your Honor,
Oh,
may I
yes.
really interrupt? My apologies. I forgot to mention during the oral report earlier that as a result of some technological difficulties we encountered with posting the agenda, we had inadvertently provided the clean copy of the proposed ordinance. This evening, we presented to the council a redlined version of the proposed ordinance, and any motion that should be made should reference the redlined version. Again, my sincerest apologies.
And then, Mr. Benoon, my question would be, that did residents have access to that red line version as well?
Did we get a chance to post it online today? I think we
No,
just did
sir.
it this
We-
afternoon.
We had paper copies in the lobby for anybody who attended the meeting, but we did not post to the website.
Okay. Is there a possibility, Mr. Benoon, you can highlight some of the significant changes in the red line version versus what folks might have seen online, or?
We can add it to the website, I would imagine.
Okay.
Certainly.
Okay, great. If there's no other clarifying questions, may I call for a vote?
Yeah, or we have to have a motion. don't we?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because,
Thank you.
yes, I would like to move the red line version that was, here this evening.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Jorgens,
Second?
second by Councilmember Collazo. Thank you. We need to take a voice vote. Councilmember Collazo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Jorgens?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Freitas?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So that passes unanimously, 4-0.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark calling an election to be held November 5th, 2024 for voter consideration of a ballot measure seeking voter authorization to amend Municipal Code Chapter 3.16 to increase the city's existing transient occupancy hotel tax, establishing policies and procedures in connection with such an election, requesting the Board of Supervisors of the County of Alameda consolidate the general municipal election with the general election to be held on November 5th, 2024, requesting certain services of the Registrar of Voters of Alameda County with respect to the consolidated general municipal election and providing for submittal of ballot arguments and rebuttals and authorizing the filing of an impartial analysis.
Thank you, City Attorney. Councilmember Collazo, I appreciate your attendance. For those of you that don't know, the reason why we had to have Councilmember Collazo present tonight, because statutory requirements, we need to pass this on a 4 vote. I just want to make it clear, that's why we moved it up to accommodate Councilmember Collazo, and I certainly appreciate all the affirmative votes by my colleagues. So Councilmember Collazo, stay as long as you like, and if we don't see you, please know that we extend our best wishes and hope you have a speedy recovery.
Do you think there's any chance I could give my council matters right now?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to go ahead and take the opportunity to give you the opportunity to talk about council comments. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to thank everybody for their prayers and their well wishes. This is the hardest thing I've been going through in my personal life. I don't wish it on anybody, but if you don't feel good, please go visit your doctors right away. I want to wish everybody a safe and happy 4th of July as we celebrate our independence. Please stay safe. And at last, my famous words, shop Newark.
Thank you, Councilmember. It's great to see you this evening. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Okay, next we'll be introducing new city employees. Would Police Officer Bill Lohr join me, please? Nice to see you. As you know, this is always my favorite part of any agenda when we have an opportunity to welcome new employees to the city of Newark, especially, I hate to say it, but especially police officers. Because the greatest responsibility we have as a city and as a community is to make sure our citizens are safe and we provide a safe community for them. And our police department, under our chief, does a great job in making sure our residents feel that way. So it's my pleasure to introduce Bill Lohr. He was hired as a police officer on May 6th, 2024, after graduating from the Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff Training Academy on May 3rd, 2024. Officer Lohr grew up in Stockton, where he graduated from Franklin High School. Following high school, he attended both Chabot College and Cal State East Bay. Officer Lohr's prior work experience includes working in the food industry. I worked at McDonald's. Where did you work?
I worked at a hamburger stand, which is a sister Wiener Schnitzel.
Oh, excellent. Auto repair industry, sales and customer service industry, and the manufacturing industry. In Officer Lohr's free time, he enjoys fishing, hiking, being outdoors, and cars. Please welcome Officer Lohr to the city of Newark. You ever notice how they take a real close look at the mayor? That's the guy that if I pull over, I give him a warning. It's my pleasure now to introduce Jonna Coulthard. Jonna Coulthard, please come forward. Hopefully I pronounced that right. If not, please correct me. Excellent. Welcome. Jonna, thank you. Jonna was hired as an Administrative Support Specialist 2 on April 17, 2024. Jonna grew up in San Lorenzo and graduated from Arroyo High School. Following high school, she attended both Ohlone and the Heald Business College. Jonna's prior work experience includes working as an accounting clerk at Ashley Interiors in Newark and an administrative assistant 1 for the Alameda County Water District in the operations department. Prior to that, she helped run her family's sign business for 35 years as the role of an office manager. In Jonna's free time, she enjoys spending time with family and friends, traveling with her husband in their newish RV, and volunteering at the Fremont Elks Lodge 2121, where she and her husband are members. Please join me in congratulating and welcome Jonna to our city. Michael Thomas. I feel like I'm on, what's that game show? Come on down. Price is Right, thank you. Boy, somebody aged himself. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. I knew it. Please welcome Michael Thomas. He's our newest building mechanic 1. Michael brings over 10 years of experience in the maintenance industry, having worked in both hotels and retirement communities. He is a native to the Bay Area, originally from Castro Valley, which is where I grew up, by the way. Yeah. And now resides in the South Bay. In his free time, Michael enjoys spending time with his daughter, Olivia. He's also a curator of fish with a keen interest in aquariums. Additionally, Michael is a gaming aficionado, particularly enjoying Call of Duty. Michael also hosts a podcast called Men on Film. Please welcome Michael to the city. Benjamin Manikia. Did I do okay with that, Benjamin? Okay. Nobody ever wants to tell the mayor, no. God, you screwed that one up. Welcome, Benjamin. Thank you. Benjamin Manikia, also known as Benji. See, now it gets easy. Became part of the maintenance division in September of 2023, serving as General Maintenance Worker 3. And now he's bringing his expertise to our landscape and parks team as a general laborer. Benjamin grew up in Tonga, learned the trade through his family's company, Malapo Quarry. He enjoys going to the gym after work, playing games, taking his son to the park, and spending quality time with his family. Kind of employee we love. Welcome aboard. Raimundo Ray Ruiz. Hi, Ray. Nice to see you. Ray Ruiz was promoted from general laborer to landscape and parks 1. I see Ray out on the city streets periodically with his troops, and this guy is a hard worker, as are all those that work with him. I think I waved to you guys over on Cherry. I waved to him over on Cherry today, didn't I? Didn't I? Who's that guy holding up traffic? Ray initially joined the city in September 2021 as a general maintenance worker 3 and was promoted to general laborer in April of 2022. Ray has been married for 36 years and has a son and a daughter. Congratulations. Ray enjoys going out to dinner with his wife, getting together with friends, and playing golf. Ray's infectious enthusiasm shines through, especially when he takes the initiative to prepare breakfast for his colleagues. I haven't gotten one of those invitations yet. Pretty soon. It's coming. Those familiar with Ray recognize his tranquil demeanor and knack for offering guidance in a way that doesn't come across as advice. He's a true city employee. I've seen him in action. People love working for Ray, and he's what makes our city great. Thanks, Ray. Thank you. Good to see you. Juan Ayala. Juan Ayala. I'll get it right, Juan. Nice to see you. Juan, our new general laborer for Parks Landscape, joins us from the private industry where he honed his skills at an engineering, grading, paving, and excavating company. Juan is happily married with 2 children, a son and a daughter. In his free time, Juan delights in watching his son participate in soccer matches for the National Premier League. What's the National Premier? Is that a local a league here in Newark?
No, Richmond.
In Richmond, okay. We're going to need to get his kids on our Newark teams. Additionally, Juan is an avid football enthusiast with particular passion for cheering on the 49ers. Hold it down. Hold it down, you Niner fans. Juan is a food enthusiast who relishes exploring culinary delights. In short, he loves to eat. I need to introduce you to Ray. Juan finds enjoyment in visiting the gym and taking leisurely walks whenever his schedule permits. Please welcome Juan to our city. It's not only rewarding to welcome new employees to the city, but it's also so rewarding to see employees promoted in the organization. You know, you start maybe as a laborer 1, but man, the doors are open. You know, once you get into city government, there's so many opportunities for you to move up into other assignments. And it's great to see folks that are promoted, Mr. Benoon. So, and again, thank you to those new employees and those that are being promoted. The next item is public comment on any item that's not currently on the agenda tonight. Is there anyone that would like to speak to any item that's not on the agenda this evening, please? Yes, please come forward.
I chose Berkeley, by the way. Go Bears. Yeah.
Madam Clerk, please reduce this time to 30 seconds.
Young man, other side, yeah.
This is super formal. You guys have a nice room. I've never been here before.
Don't you love it?
Honestly, yeah. You guys need more color, though, you know? I was expecting some hot pink, something.
Well, welcome, please. Your name for the record?
My name is Fario Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, I don't get a Swayze intro like some of the other guys, unfortunately.
And when you come work for the city, I'm happy to do it.
See? Okay. Okay, so, well, hello there, Mr. Mayor, Your Honor, council members as well. City manager, love that guy. I hope everyone here is having a splendid evening to start off with, barring the joy that is public service. And, well, my name is Fario Martinez again, and I'm a freshly graduated only college student, incoming Berkeley 3rd year. And, well, I'm here to speak today about the growing epidemic that I'm sure you guys have all seen happen in our schools and stuff, which is tobacco consumption. And it's gotten pretty bad. And I think it's time that I think you guys can very much do something about it. And I think it's time that I know Newark can do it because, I mean, we've dealt with so many problems over the years and we've done it well. And I think now is the time to do it again. Okay. So, no doubt you're aware that tobacco use, that products of, tobacco, their use has been on the rise among youth due to the prevalence and popularity of flavored tobacco and, things like vapes. I'd like to thank you in advance for addressing this issue, because again, it's very prominent, and I understand you as City Council have so much on your plate. I mean, it's my first time being at a council meeting, and you guys have a lot to do, so I can imagine. And I've been in Newark my whole life, and I've seen the best and the worst parts of it. I hate to see it get to the point where people in middle school start smoking, okay? Those kids can barely order their own food and walk home from school, yet they can still acquire and use tobacco products. Yeah, I mean, vaping was bad when I was at NMHS, but from what my sister, who just graduated, she's in the back there, told me it's gotten a lot worse to the point where, restrooms and things like that have to be closed off and, basic stuff. And I think for me, the worst it got was when I saw students, as soon as the teacher turned around, like they just hit it immediately, just like that, okay? And I don't know how bad it's gotten now, but I haven't been in school for a while, but it's still something that I think needs to be fixed. Okay? And walking home, it caught my attention. There is a Platinum Vape shop right next to both the school and the Little Caesars and the Starbucks right there, right? Keep in mind, I'm not calling this place out in specific for any reason other than proximity and just because it's the first one that came into my mind. But I think it's a little concerning, I guess would be the right word, that a smoke shop can be so close to a place where students come and go and near these really popular areas that students frequent, you know, for food, for community, for anything. And I recognize that fighting against one of the wealthiest industries won't be easy. But if it was easy, then tobacco would have been phased out years ago. So I hope a strong TRL is adopted sooner rather than later and includes a ban on the sale of all flavored tobacco products, including vapes, you know, anything. Because these things are incredibly appealing to youth. That's the whole point of them. I'm sure you guys remember Juul. It was very popular, and now it's gotten turned around. People are going at it now for recognizing what it did and what the point of it was. Because grown-ups don't want flavored vapes. That's for kids. They don't want to have cherry apple or anything like that. Okay? So I think some of the things you guys could do, and I hope you guys do, are, again, banning all flavored tobacco and requiring minimum prices, you know, to be a little bit higher and less affordable for youth. That way you can have the best of both worlds, you know? People who need it can have it, and people who shouldn't have it can't, okay? And I know this may sound extreme, you know, banning anything in its complete and absolutity is something that we as a nation despise just because, you know, we always hear the same thing. It's like, oh, it limits what we can do as people and our rights as citizens, you know, because that's the whole point. We get to choose what we want to do, you know, but please remember that this is an industry that targets youth. It will never come out and say it, but it targets youth, okay? And so they deal in extremes. They'll sell you the addiction and then they sell you the fix. They want the best of both worlds from you, okay? So it's natural to assume that to combat this, we need to also be willing to do the extreme. And so for the past several months, I have been researching with Stanford on tobacco advertising and how the industry targets the Latino community specifically. So I know the dirty tricks and loopholes that they've been using, that they have still used, and that they'll continue to use because, again, you give them an inch, they'll end up with more than a mile. Okay? Prevention is better than curing, so it's with hope that I hope and urge you to prioritize fighting an industry that markets addictive products to youth and other vulnerable groups by adopting a strong policy. I mean, I've seen you guys work in action. I know you guys can do it. What's one more, right? Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Martinez. Thank you for your thoughtful comments. For those that were listening, TRL, Tobacco Retail Licensing. Yes, Mr. Manoon? Is that what TRL, Tobacco Retail Licensing? And would you like to comment on the city's efforts to begin the process of bringing a tobacco retail licensing ordinance to the council?
Yeah, staff is currently analyzing that and will have a recommendation to the council for council consideration likely in September. There's the council August recess, which would preclude us from taking action and amending our municipal code at that time. So, but we do plan on bringing this forward as early as we can, which would be September.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Benoon, but I believe state law currently forbids the sale of flavored vaping. Am I incorrect in that regard, City Attorney?
No, that's accurate. The legislature approved a law that went to the voters because there was a referendum on it. The voters upheld the law. So flavored tobacco products, which includes vapes, is illegal in California.
Currently, thank you.
That's correct.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments on items that are not on the agenda this evening? Okay, thank you very much for that. The next items are the consent calendar, which consists of items D1 through D16. Are there any items that staff would like pulled from the consent calendar, Mr. Benoon?
Yes, Your Honor. Item D15, please.
Are there any items that the city council would like pulled from the consent calendar? Any items that the public would like pulled from the consent calendar this evening for discussion? Okay. Seeing none, the consent calendar consists of the following. 1, approval of the audited demands. 2, approval of the June 13, 2024 minutes. 3, adopt a resolution calling and giving notice of the holding of a general municipal election on Tuesday, November 5, 2024 for the election of certain officers of the city of Newark. 4, adopt a resolution amending the personnel rules and regulations and introduction by title only of an ordinance amending Newark Municipal Code Section 2.28 Personnel System. I think that was 4. 5, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contractual services agreement for geotechnical engineering and peer review services, material testing services, traffic signal and streetlight maintenance services, and traffic engineering and transportation planning services with the following consultants: Cotton, Shires and Associates Incorporated, Geocon Consultants Incorporated, Construction Testing Services Incorporated, Cal West Lighting, Signal Maintenance Inc., St. Francis Electric LLC, Fair and Piers, GHD Inc., and Kimley Horn and Associates Inc. 6, adopt a resolution awarding a contract for the base bid and additive alternate bids number 1, 2, 3, and 4 to G. Bortolotto and Company, Inc. for 2024 asphalt concrete street overlay program, project 1344. 7, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Alameda County for participation in the Alameda County Urban County for fiscal year 24-25. 8, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contractual services agreement with West Coast Arborists, Inc. for ongoing maintenance services for city trees located in parks, streets, and city-owned properties. 9, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute amendment number 1 to the contractual services agreement with Universal Building Services and Supply Company for janitorial services for city buildings. 10, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the First Amendment to the agreement with Alameda County for participation in the Alameda County Urban County. 11, adopt a resolution authorizing the city attorney to annually execute a certificate and mutual indemnification agreement with the County of Alameda. 12, adopt a resolution declaring that there is no need for the successor agency to the redevelopment agency to function in the community, and requesting that the Alameda County Oversight Board approve the dissolution of the successor agency. 13, year-end budget review and adoption of resolution amending the 2022-2024 biennial budget and capital improvement plan for fiscal year 24. 14, adopt a resolution approving the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017, Senate Bill number 1, fiscal year 2025 project list. 16, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contractual services agreement with Cumming Management Group, Inc. for construction management services for Newark Resource Center Project 1360. Would someone like to move the items be approved with any, I'm sorry, Mr. Benoon, you wanted me to pull item 15? Okay. Would anyone like to move the items to be approved with any item approved by resolution or ordinance being numbered consecutively, and that the reading of the title suffice for purposes of the introduction or adoption of the ordinance? Would someone like to make that motion? By Vice Mayor Freitas?
Second.
By Councilmember Jorgens. Go ahead and please vote. No, she's gone. Councilmember Collazo is no longer with us. Would that be correct?
No, sir, she is
Thank you.
not.
And that carries with 3 ayes, with Councilmember Susie Collazo absent. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to public hearings. The first public hearing is a public hearing to consider adoption of a resolution approving amendments to the master fee schedule for fiscal year 2025. Mr. Benoon?
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. As to item E1, our senior planner, Ms. Carmelissa Lopez, will provide the staff report. Ms. Lopez?
Thank you, City Manager Benoon, and thank you, City Council members, staff, and everyone in attendance tonight. My name is Carmelissa Lopez, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. That I'm presenting this evening is an update to the development impact fees in the city's master fee schedule. The development impact fees provide funding for various projects in the city and are essential to providing services to the community. These fees include the park, public safety facilities, community service facilities, transportation, and housing impact fees. These fees are collected for development projects at the time of building permit issuance. Each of the fees includes the staff report includes a description of each of the fees if you're interested in taking a look at that. The resolutions that adopted each of these fees require an annual review. And per those resolutions, these fees must be adjusted according to the Engineering News Record Construction Cost Index for San Francisco. The Engineering News Record, ENR for short, is an American company that provides news analysis and data for the construction industry worldwide. Their work also includes preparing monthly national and city level construction cost indexes, which is what is used for the analysis of the impact fees. For the city level construction cost indexes specifically, they are calculated using local average prices for specific construction materials and the national average for union wages for laborers. Regarding the city's annual review, the city uses the construction cost index for San Francisco because it represents the regional market of the Bay Area. And to ensure annual reporting is consistent, staff reviews the index for the same month of each year, which is in this case May. And for this year's review, the May 2024 construction cost index for San Francisco indicated construction costs decreased by 1.1%. Accordingly, the impact fees must be decreased by 1.1%. This decrease is reflected in the proposed impact fees for fiscal year 2025 and is provided in Exhibit A of the staff report. If approved, the fee would become effective 60 days after approval, which would be August 26, 2024. That concludes my presentation. For the resolution, staff recommends that the City Council conduct a public hearing and by resolution approve an amendment to the master fee schedule for fiscal year 2025 to reflect the updated development impact fees. I'm available to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this item? The public hearing is now closed. Colleagues, any questions, comments? Ms. Lopez, I only had one question. With the reduction of the fee, can you attribute that as to where and why that fee reduction might be occurring? Could it be due to the cost of materials, cost of labor? Any insight as to why that reduction?
That's a good question. So staff does use the engineering news record to determine how the impact fees should be adjusted. Based on the research that's available to staff, the construction materials averages on the local level may be what attributed to the decrease, because for the laborers' average prices, that's used nationwide. So I think it would, we could assume that it would be based on the construction cost in the Bay Area, but that's just based on the data that's provided and available to staff.
Thank you, and that doesn't surprise me because as we saw, there was a significant increase in the percentage a few years ago, and as we all recall, as citizens and consumers, the cost of materials were sky high when it came to materials for construction. So it's good for a change to actually see a reduction in some of these fees. So if there's no other questions, I'll look for a motion in a second to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
By Councilmember Jorgens. I'll second. Whoops, I'm sorry. I hit the button, Madam Clerk, too quickly.
That's okay.
Yeah. And that carries 3 ayes.
Resolution of City Council of City of Newark amending the master fee schedule for fiscal year 2025.
With Councilmember Koya also being absent. The next item on the agenda is to adopt a resolution approving the 2024-2026 biennial budget and capital improvement plan. This is also a public hearing. This will certainly open up the public hearing once staff has completed their report. Mr. Benoon?
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. As Your Honor so indicated, item B2 is a public hearing to consider adoption of the proposed 2024 through 2026 budget and the related capital improvement plan. Ms. Kristen Lee, our finance director, has the staff report. Before I pass it over to her, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the council and the public and city staff. This was a considerable amount of effort spanning the past 6 months, and we had to make a lot of last-minute adjustments related to the capital improvement plan. So I thank the council for their support, direction, and patience. With that in mind, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Ms. Lee. Looks like she's working on connecting the PowerPoint. I'd like to also thank Ms. Lee and her staff. They've done a fabulous job. A lot of hours are put forth in developing this budget. We have a lot of talented finance staff here this evening, and I'm more than happy to answer any question that the council may have.
Just for those that are watching, Mr. Benoon, or listening, we were presented with a detailed presentation on this item previously. So what Ms. Lee will be doing tonight will be kind of summarizing some of the highlights from that.
Correct, Your Honor. This was a very long process, involved multiple council meetings and work sessions. And at the previous meeting, couple previous meetings, the council went page by page through the budget. Tonight, Ms. Lee is going to summarize the changes that have been made to the recommended budget as a result of that collective discussion and direction, and she will highlight those changes. I also note that red line version of the budget was attached to the staff report so that the council and the public can see how it changed from last time, which was about a month ago when we went through page by page. So
Thank you.
with that in mind, Your Honor, go ahead and pass it over to Finance Director Lee. Ms. Lee?
Hello? Okay, thank you, City Manager Benoon. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. I'm Kristen Lee, Finance Director, and tonight I am pleased to present for your adoption the 2024-2026 Biennial Budget and Capital Improvement Plan. This budget was developed through a transparent and collaborative process involving multiple work sessions and comprehensive input from the City Council and community, and it aligns with the City Council's strategic objectives for fiscal year 2025 and 2026. Following the presentation of the draft budget on May 23rd, staff incorporated all feedback into the red line version that was attached to the staff report. And tonight, staff recommends that City Council, by resolution, adopt the 2024-2026 biennial budget and capital improvement plan as presented. After approval, staff will finalize a clean version for publication on the city's website and ensure it's available for post-audit processes. The development of this budget was informed by a series of detailed discussions and presentations. On January 25th, staff presented an informational item providing a summary of all capital improvement projects submitted for consideration. March 14th, staff presented an overview of the city's budget process, economic trends, financial updates, the 5-year forecast, and department priorities. On May 23rd, a draft of the 2024-2026 biennial budget without the capital improvement plan was presented to City Council and feedback was received. Last week, on June 20th, staff presented the City Council a proposed capital project list for funding in fiscal year 2025 and fiscal year 2026, along with a draft capital improvement plan document, and feedback was also received. Staff has previously received valuable feedback from the City Council, both in writing and at various budget work sessions. So the following are the specific edits that were incorporated into the final document. We enhanced the clarity of our transmittal letter regarding the community survey. A sentence was added to page 2 of the red line version to indicate that the 253-page community survey and an interactive data dashboard is available on the city's website. Strategic adjustments were made in departmental priorities, specifically on page 42 under the police department section, the 3rd bullet point. This has been modified to reference abandoned vehicles and graffiti abatement instead of blight. This change more accurately reflects the department's focus and ongoing efforts. On page 44, under the community preservation section, 2 priorities were added to include a tobacco licensing program and a multifamily housing inspection program. These additions align with the city's goals and strategies. On page 45, we expanded on the establishment of the Maintenance Reserve Fund. Establishing a Maintenance Reserve Fund is best practice for financial management and asset preservation. It ensures that there are dedicated resources to handle maintenance needs. And on page 65, a breakdown of home ownership by race and the percentage are compared to the Alameda County percentages. On page 69, we clarified that the Timber Street senior housing 1-bedroom units are for very low and extremely low income seniors. On page 74, a table was added to include various federal, state, and local grant funding earmarked for streetscape projects. So under the department section on page 106, an additional maintenance supervisor was added during the fiscal year. Therefore, the Public Works authorized position list was updated to reflect this add, and there are no impacts on personnel cost. So after the May 23rd budget work session, new data for revenue and contractual services were received. These include updates to property tax forecasts, revised costs for the Alameda County Fire Service contract, and necessary adjustments to the Community Development Department's baseline budget. The finance team has analyzed these updates and understand the changes as well as their implications. And just want to note that updating the forecast ensures it accurately reflects the city's financial obligations, which helps in making realistic financial plans and to help avoid any unexpected shortfalls. So I'd like to detail these specific edits in the upcoming slides, but I just wanted to note that these edits are integrated into the 5-year forecast, which is on page 61. Okay, so the details are on page 88 and 92 regarding property tax revenues. Property tax revenues were increased by $470,000 for fiscal year 2025 and $466,000 for fiscal year 2026. And this was primarily due to the increase of supplemental property tax. The increase accounts for the typical delay in recording of new ownership or constructions onto the tax roll, and this delay can create unpredictability in the timing and the amounts of these supplemental property taxes. This adjustment does align with the latest data that we received post the May 23rd presentation. On page 115, increased personnel expenditures by $8,000 for both fiscal year 2025 and 2026 reflects the 6% increase to city council compensation. And on page 145, we had updated the fire service cost to align with a recent 5-year projection provided by the Alameda County Fire Department. On page 150 and 151, increased community development department budget was applied for fiscal year 2025, and that increase was $284,000. For fiscal year 2026, the increase was $299,000, and this is just to better align with the baseline costs of additional supplies, training, and contractual on-call planning services. And this brings me to my last slide on the next steps. So once approved, staff again will finalize a clean version for publication on the city's website. The budget will be uploaded into our Tyler New World financial system and ready for the new fiscal year by July 1st. And thank you, and that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments regarding this matter? I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Colleagues, questions, comments? Councilmember Jorgens.
Yes, I just want to thank you for this process, for this clear presentation. This is my first time going through the budget process, and it's setting a high bar for what I'm going to expect in the future. This was a process that for me is very clear of the priorities that we have for the community and how that's reflected in the budget. And it's I think it's a really impressive document that we're able to serve the community by.
Thank you.
And I will echo Councilmember Jorgens' comments, Mr. Benoon. I'm really pleased with staff incorporating council comments in this presentation. It shows to us that you heard us, you captured our comments, and they're now reflected in the final document. And that's important, because it's an extremely detailed document, and there's a lot of information. The council members spent a considerable amount of time reviewing it because that's what is expected of us, and to then highlight those suggested changes is something notable, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
With that being said, we need a motion and a second to approve the 2024-2026 biennial budget and capital improvement plan.
Happily moved.
By Councilmember Jorgens, by Vice Mayor Freitas. I did it again. And that passes unanimously with 3 ayes and Councilmember Collazo absent.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark adopting the 2024-2026 biennial budget and capital improvement plan, providing for the post-auditing paid demands certified or approved as conforming to such approved budget.
Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute break.